split, Randy, this is something you have to take seriously. Go ahead, Randy.
Ask Ian, because of the time of night it is, time of day it is, and the blinding rain you talked about, this is a tornado that if it occurs and if it's still there is very difficult for people to see. So that adds to the threat.
Absolutely. This is an indiscernible tornado. It's what we would call rain wrapped. Here's where it is, and yeah, my eyes aren't good enough to read this, so I apologize, and probably people at home saying the same thing. But once you look for Apple Valley, here's the split: 35W, 35E, Buck Hill, down toward Target. This is where we have reports of a tornado on the ground. Again, all part of the tornado warning that's knocking on the South Metro doorstep, knocking very ferociously, if you will, as the heavy rains. This is what Randy was alluding to. All of these colors here are some very heavy rains. So as I slide you down, notice south of Lakeville, we're rain free. North of Burnsville, very heavy rain. Right in the middle, this is where we expect the tornado to be on the ground with the tornado warning in place until 9:15. And you know that area when you're down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's, you know, Burnsville area down there, very well populated area. Hopefully folks do have their storm plan in effect and their televisions or radios tuned to the weather channels that we are now broadcasting from. Ian, talk about the specific area. Now, I know some of that is very difficult, but it's right there at that, just below that split of Apple Valley, just south of Burnsville now, right?
Yeah, it's right. So here's Apple Valley. There's Lakeville, Prior Lake, Bloomington, Burnsville. See these little red areas? Those are the degree of rotation, the Doppler velocity, if you will. And when I talk about a personal storm plan, it's about, you know, if you're on the main floor and you're in your family room and the house is beginning to shake, take your remote control, crank up my voice. I know that might not be something you want, but crank up my voice and head down to the basement. I'll let you know when your area here, just south of the 35W, 35E split, I'll let you know, I'll scream it from the rooftops when it's safe for you to come out of the basement. For areas south of Lakeville, it's safe for you, but right here between Prior Lake, Apple Valley, coming right up to the split into Burnsville and Bloomington, it is not safe for you. Now we start getting a little closer to the Doppler unit, and you see how we get some different colors in here? This becomes almost linear in ways, so we'll pick up some strong winds along with the very, very heavy rain. I'm going to take you down one step further. You see where these have become fragmented and they sort of pull apart and they look pixelated? They're supposed to look pixelated. There's something as a meteorologist we look for here called gate-to-gate shear. Inbound, outbound velocity of the wind. Once we pick that up, that's where we know the most dangerous portion of the storm is. That's where the rotation is in the storm. Right now over top of the 35W, 35E split, and another area here just to the west of Apple Valley by maybe a mile. So this entire area here, personal storm plan, put it into effect, know what's happening. But as you put this little line here, move it to the north at upwards of 30 miles per hour, gives you an idea. We're talking about Burnsville directly in the threat line here in the next 7 minutes. So there's plenty to talk about on the map, even when you head back over here toward Prior Lake, and we find Prior Lake rain-free with this definitive line as all of this rain gets sucked into the storm, moving off to the north and to the northeast. I apologize to Panya, I think who's in the booth tonight, who's trying to say something to me. Okay, so we've got meteorologist Cody Matz on the phone. By the way, great man, great meteorologist, great friend, who happens to, more importantly, live in Burnsville. So Cody, you're on the phone. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Tell me what you see and what's going on.
Well, as of right now, there's not a lot happening other than some very heavy rain. I'd show you some video. I'm actually in my basement. I have a kind of lookout in my basement, and there's not much to see just because it's so dark. But as the sun has gone down over the last 15 or 20 minutes, we've seen some brief little gusty winds, but nothing particularly heavy. And now it's just been a lot of heavy rain. And to give you an idea of where I live in Burnsville, so I'm just north of that Burnsville split, right along Burnsville Parkway.
All right.
So
basically,
right yes, right up in there, northern end of Burnsville. And there's not much right now. But if there is something, it would be very near my house, certainly at this point. But it is amazingly still, with just the sound of very heavy rain at the moment.
Right. Okay. So, and you know this. So, weather geeks like Cody and I, during storms, we're at home, we're in our basement, and we're looking at Doppler velocity. By the way, Cody, and you're watching me right now, so you know I've got it up. You know that we're looking at the velocity couplets here, just to the south of Burnsville, now just north of the split, the 35W, 35E split. You say it's very still where you are, right?
Yeah, it's still. I can see a couple of leaves moving on my very tall trees, but that's about it. And that's kind of indicative of some situations like this where you get around a circulation, all the air is going up. And so unless you have some sort of funnel situation or, albeit hypothetically a tornado that could potentially be around, you're going to have very little wind otherwise.
Yeah. So, and as you look at this in the background, I'm going to take this away, Cody. Look at you get all of these little different notches of all of this moisture going to the north, not inflow notches for tornadoes, but some drier air working into the backside of this storm. Then you've got this lobe of moisture that sort of works its way back off to the south. And again, Cody Matz, meteorologist Cody Matz, is joining us on the phone. He lives in Burnsville. This is an area that we're concerned with in terms of the velocity couplet. See the red here next to the green showing us that there is a degree of rotation in this storm. We had a confirmed tornado in Lakeville at 9:01. Right now it is 9:15, so fully 14 minutes ago, Cody. So we'll expect to see the winds, I think, pick up in your location in just a moment. Okay, so here's a shot live in Lakeville, and this goes to show exactly what we were talking about. It is raining, it is dark, it is impossible for you to see anything in these storms. As a matter of fact, what we tell storm chasers and storm spotters when we're teaching them is you would be looking for lightning in the storm to help backlight everything, almost like a flashbulb in the distance, so that if there were a funnel cloud and if there were a tornado, you could see it. But as it represents itself right now, it is a sea of black. And I know we've got Hannah Flood on the phone as well. Hannah, is this video from you? And if it is, where are you and what's going on?
Hey, Ian, yes, this is from us. We're in Lakeville. We're just south of that 35 split where it splits off to 35W and 35E. And Dan, the photographer here, I'm going to have him kind of move over to our right where you can see, he says he's picking it up in his viewfinder and his camera. You can literally see the change in the sky from kind of that lighter blue to these darker clouds that are moving in. So that's what we've kind of been watching over the last 10 or 15 minutes or so since we've pulled over, is really this defined, you can see it, dark, wall of clouds that are moving in here. And kind of to Cody's point when he was on the phone, it is relatively calm. You can see that flag out there flying in the wind, still not really picking up to those heavy wind levels, and the rain, Ian, has kind of really tapered off in the last couple of minutes. We've kind of had waves where it's raining a bit harder, going a little lighter. It is on the lighter side right now, but definitely you can see that darkness and those clouds moving in, much more than just, dark of sunset this time of night. You can really see over here, I believe this is to our east, our west, of that line of clouds where you can really see the difference in the sky of the lighter to the darker with those dark clouds moving in.
So which are you on the east? You're on the east side because that's Camping World on the west side, right?
Correct. Yep, we're right by that the Metro Transit parking ramp there,
Sure. Yeah.
right off of 35 in Lakeville.
Okay, so where you are, because you're a little further south, I think you're fine, but I'd love you to stay south and not try and drive up 35 into the heart of the rotation of this storm. And I think, by the way, Hannah Flood, reporter with Dan Sundum, our photojournalist, awesome job tonight. Hannah, stay with us if you will. Do we still have Cody Matz, meteorologist Cody Matz on the phone from Burnsville?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Cody. Any wind pickup yet?
No, haven't seen any wind pickup. It's actually kind of weird. It's been one of those days where the atmosphere doesn't seem to know what it wants to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of doing the same thing where it will sputter, the rain will sputter to a stop, and then all of a sudden, 30 seconds later, you get a quick 10-second downpour, and then it kind of sputters to a stop again, and then we'll do it all over again. And this is one of those atmospheres, and I realize you know this, but it's nice to share with people that are outside of our weather heads and our weather brains, is that we're in an atmosphere where a lot of times you get these funnels or potentially tornadoes that often work the very same way the atmospheres kind of work today. They don't really know what they want to do, and so they can pop up very quickly, but they also typically dissipate very quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where if you're not prepared, all of a sudden the tornado hits
all of a sudden it drops
with
down
very
and,
little
and
warning.
moves a shed and some fences and some trees, and it's gone. And you're like, it's it's not a tornado conducive environment, I think is what you're trying to say. And it's what I've been saying all night long. But that doesn't stop funnel clouds from forming, and it doesn't stop funnel clouds from touching down like it did in Webster, like it did in Warsaw, and apparently like it did in Lakeville about 17 minutes ago. I mean, it's great information, Cody. This is where we sit with our velocity couplets. They haven't moved at all. And as you start to look at the reflectivity, I'm going to bring you up. By the way, reflectivity is looking at the precipitation here. As you start to look, there's a definitive back line here as this entire motion is now turned off to the north and to the northeast. So as you look back, we'll still continue with the threat here of some rumbling, much weaker thunderstorms, but the tornado warning that was in place has been allowed to expire. Remember, it was in place until 9:15. So I know we checked in with Hannah Flood, reporter in Lakeville. We checked in with meteorologist Cody Matz in Burnsville. For the time being, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. These are some big rumbling storms rolling across the metro. If you are in the South Metro, and in particular Burnsville, all the way up to, say, Bloomington and the airport, and then back here off toward Afton and Sunfish Lake, those are areas that will see the strongest portion of the storm here in the next 15 minutes. But I'm going to take a break. We'll get back inside the storm in a minute, sending things back to both Kelsey and Randy at the anchor desk. And instead, I think I'm being told we should just take a break.
Can I ask a quick question?
You may.
Okay, this is a quick one. As it continues to move north, do you expect any more warnings to pop up?
At this point, I would say we're taking the energy of the atmosphere, what little energy, and we're wringing it out, and it could be wrung out for good. That's why I'm saying Burnsville up to the airport, over to Afton. Pretty good idea to stay skyware just in case we pop another warning. And with that answered, I will send you to a quick break. The Fox 9 News at 9 continues right after this. All right, so the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for the South Metro. Right now, it is all about some big rain and some booming, weak thunderstorms. As things change, of course, I'm going to be here. We're here until 10:30 with the news, but for right now, time to get back to my friends Kelsey and Randy on the anchor desk as the Fox 9 News at 9 continues.
Ian, thank you. We'll check in with you in just a few minutes.
A large crowd gathering in North Minneapolis tonight to remember a life that was taken too soon. 6-year-old Anaya Allen died after being hit in the head by a stray bullet on Monday.
Anaya was one of 3 children in Minneapolis gravely injured by gun violence in less than 3 weeks.
These are all separate situations, and Fox 9's Courtney Godfrey has more from Anaya's family tonight. They are heartbroken with this news.
Community gathered here at 36th and Penn, the place where 6-year-old Anaya Allen was shot Monday night, apparently caught in the crossfire of a shootout as she sat in the back seat of her mother's car on the way home.
My baby girl dying right now. I watched her take her last breath. Okay? She fought so hard. So hard.
A heartbroken mother, her 6-year-old daughter now dead, the latest innocent victim of gun violence in Minneapolis.
Right now you are training our young people to be the future leaders in your positions. So that's why it should be an outrage and an outcry when something happens to one of our babies.
The community calling for people to speak up and stand up. Mayor Jacob Fry, who's under extreme pressure to act, speaking to the crowd.
It doesn't need to be this way. We can have peace and safety in our communities. We can bring the perpetrators to justice. We can push back on this needless and unnecessary gun violence in our community. Come on, man. And we can stand up to make sure that these little kids, these children, these babies, come on, Mayor, they're growing up to extraordinary people and they don't have their lives cut short anymore.
Meanwhile, 2 other children, 9-year-old Trinity and 10-year-old Ladavian, also hit by gunfire in recent weeks, still fight for their lives at the hospital.
This is the most important thing I want you to know. They're not arrested yet. That means that they still out here, and your baby could be next.
In Minneapolis, Courtney Godfrey, Fox 9.
The community is so torn up over this, understandably, and feeling helpless.
Yeah, and I think every time you see those pictures, I mean, Trinity was on a trampoline playing at the time. Ladavian was in a car,
Anaya was with her mother
eating McDonald's on the way home with her mom. So, and again, no suspects arrested in any of these cases.
More to come. We'll be back right after this break.
And welcome back. We've been tracking severe weather tonight. The warnings have expired at this point, but we do know from Ian that there have been several unconfirmed tornado touchdowns, and so it's still a very serious situation as we try to figure out what's happening out there.
We will check back in with Ian in just a minute, but before we go there, we sent Fox 9's Hannah Flood to the South Metro earlier tonight. We find her in Lakeville now, which is where one of those areas with a confirmed touchdown occurred. Hannah, things have calmed down to the south of that area now where you are. Describe what you saw.
Of that 35W35E split. We are on the east side, yes, of 35 right now. And if you were with us about 15 minutes ago, you'll notice it's a lot different out here than it was then. About 15 minutes ago, it was hardly raining. It was kind of eerily quiet as we could see this dark wall of clouds walk over us. And now we're into just that bucket of rain period. The rain has really been coming down, kind of coming in waves where it's heavy and then gets a bit lighter. I will say that we're not experiencing strong winds out here. The winds have been fairly calm, and I know that it's getting dark because the sun is going down. Between the evening sun setting sky and
Clearly we have some audio issues there with Hannah as they pull away from her. There's a lot of road noise and rain noise, but again, she's at the 35 split down there. South of Lakeville, or right in that southern part of Lakeville right now, where she's been watching that storm. It has, as Ian reported just a few minutes ago, passed beyond her to the north now. And again, as Kelsey just pointed out, those tornado warnings have expired.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell from the video there, it's rainy, but it's quieted down quite a bit.
The tornado risk has pretty much dropped off a cliff. Now it is all about some very heavy rain all across the metro, pushing off to the north over the next couple of hours. We could see areas pick up over an inch of rain, and unfortunately for Hannah, she's out in that tonight.
She's picking up an inch of rain.
Yeah, and it's important to note also when you look at the last 6 hours. So tornado reports started just to the west of Owatonna, in and around Medford, into where the outlet malls are down there. We have reports of 2 tornado touchdowns. Then another round of tornado reports in and around Faribault, actually more specific into about Warsaw, 2 reported tornado touchdowns. Then a tornado touchdown in Lakeville. So it starts well to the south and works all the way to the South Metro and says, okay, I'm finished now, here's the heavy rain. And really, that's what we're talking about. Here is the last 6 hours, and it is very heavy rain spreading across the metro. A live look at Storm Vision radar all the way from Mille Lacs south into, say, Faribault. It is all about some big-time rain. I would be surprised if there are some areas in the metro that have not already picked up at least a half an inch, and we've probably got another half inch to go for some of those locations. But once again, in case you didn't quite get it, the tornado risk has dropped right off a cliff, and this is all about heavy rain now as we work through tonight. And there you see it. So if you don't have to go out, don't. Look at the 35W bridge in the background. This is from a shot on top of the IDS tower. And you look back at today, look, it was warm, but the air was really soupy. There was clouds, not a lot of sunshine. Even without the sun, we managed to top out at 77. Average high is 70, record high 97. Set on this date back in 2009. And for the third straight day, the warm spot, International Falls. I know, Randy. Randy's like, what? International Falls?
That has to be a mistake.
I told you we should have moved to International Falls. 77 in Brainerd today, 75 in Hutchinson, 75 in Faribault. Now, rain-cooled air, but because the dew points are up, that real soupy feeling in the air today, with dew points up, temperatures can only drop so far. It is going to stay incredibly mild through the overnight. This Capella Tower glaring at us with the 35W bridge downtown Minneapolis. 67 degrees right now. See, the dew point is 66. It is physically impossible for the temperature to drop below the dew point. So where you sit right now, it's pretty much where we'll wake up tomorrow morning as storms rumble. And we talk about fog developing late this evening through tomorrow morning. Then a couple of rounds of rumblers Thursday morning into the noon hour, nothing severe, before we get a break into stronger storm possibilities Friday. Saturday and Sunday is all about heat and humidity, but the unsettled component of this forecast sort of meanders its way through the weekend and into next week. So as I mentioned, the rumbling rainers into morning fog. Then another couple of rumbling rainers tomorrow morning. It's going to be a windy, warm day. Winds out of the south. High temperatures approaching 80. Dew points back in the 60s. Hot and muggy once again with a chance of scattered storms tomorrow night. Here go the storms, generally heavy rain as we work through tonight. Now we're into tomorrow morning with scattered showers, perhaps a rumble here before we're finished and set the stage for another round late tomorrow night. Hot and humid is the forecast as we get through the day tomorrow, even into the day Friday. Friday night, great day as we launch our way into the weekend to stay sky aware. Stay sky aware if you have travels to cabin country. We could see some strong storms Friday night, but Saturday, it is a free outdoor sauna for you and everybody. Hot and humid, high temperatures mid to upper 80s, dew points mid to upper 60s. Saturday is going to be like one of those days in July where you're like, I'm not going outside.
That is bona fide summer weather.
That is bona fide summer weather, and it is bona fide severe weather season. From this point forward, it's one of those things. Just got to keep an eye on the forecast. Unconfirmed tornado touchdown somewhere between 3 and 6 tonight. We'll figure all that out with a lighted day tomorrow.
We haven't heard of any major damage reports, though.
Well, thankfully, a lot of this is in the middle of fields, and that's really great news.
So hopefully nobody hurt out there, and we should get reports very soon.
Yeah, absolutely, and more
sure.
so for the Fox News Morning News tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks,
Good
Ian.
to see you.
Yeah.
The Wild's playoff series is tied at 1 game apiece.
And now the Wild are hoping to get a few more wins out of the Golden Knights here at the X. Jim Rich will break down how the Wild are preparing for Game 3 against Vegas.